Hello everybody and welcome to my video about the College Dropout by Kanye West. I'm Colton and I know it's been a little bit, but I'm back. So the first thing I want to say in this video is have a disclaimer, because I understand that a lot of people don't like Kanye for the things that he has done now, and I completely understand. And if that holds you up, I understand if you just want to click off the video, that's fine. But I appreciate a lot of his music, especially his older era stuff, where I feel like he covers amazing issues in his music and also provides a lot of great concepts. And once again, I understand if you don't, and you can click off the video and you can go watch another one on my channel. There are plenty of videos that don't include this guy, but I've been wanting to make this video for a while, so I'm finally gonna do it. And since it's not monetized, I'm going to include some of the music in the background as I follow through the songs. Pretty much what I'm going to do is set up a 3-act story structure, how I think the story of the College Dropout goes. And obviously, I'm going to cover what the meaning of the College Dropout is in general, at least in my opinion, and like what other people may think too, But I always think of it in this 3-act story structure for some reason. I don't know why, but it seems like it's so set up to me. Like, it feels like it was definitely written out to be an actual story. And so I'll get into that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to analyze each song, talk about how it fits into the story and how it fits into the overall theme of the College Dropout. Also talk about just why I enjoy the music. I also have like a little, I have my final big thing at the end. And also like a little review of it, just a little rating I want to give it. Because if y'all enjoy this one, I'll do more music ones, because I really want to get into music. I love listening to music. I want to start playing it again, but yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and say, let's get into the College Dropout by Kanye West. So for the background, I don't want to get too bogged down in a whole bunch of stuff that you could just look up on Wikipedia, to be honest. Kanye West grew up in Chicago and lived with his mom, and both of his parents were highly educated. And his mom especially expected him to go to college. He ended up going to Chicago State University before dropping out to pursue his passion in music. And that's what ended up manifesting into the College Dropout. And there's a lot of other things that end up going to the full creation, but that's the crux of him getting into the music industry and what starts creating this idea in the album. But the thing is, like, with his mom not initially agreeing with it, she ended up being his biggest supporter, literally getting him an apartment so that he could work on his passion and he wouldn't have to constantly worry about covering every bit of the bill. And he initially started off as a ghost producer for Jay-Z at Rockefeller, and then eventually got signed by them, which, you'll see in the album. But he ended up signing a deal and getting to put out an album, and a lot of things occurred in between the time of when the album started getting music made for it and whenever it finally did come out. So, with that little background, we can start with the story.
Oh yeah, I got the perfect song for the kids to sing. And all my people that's drug dealing.
I'm going to cover the skits in this, but I'm not going to make them take up a bulk of it, but they are going to just be in here because each of them kind of builds up atmosphere. So the intro skit sets up this whole idea of Kanye going to this graduation and singing a song for all the kids that are there, to be like some motivator into completing college or something like that. And you can see that already it's starting to build that idea that he's getting, propped up to eventually break it all down. And so that's kind of where the intro just takes us, just to that idea. It gives us that setting. But then we get brought in to the first song of the album, We Don't Care. Kanye covers a lot of what he finds wrong with just the system in general towards the African American population, but also the failures of the education system, and how this idea of college and what's being told will happen if they go to college isn't a reality, and that in a lot of circumstances these people drop out, get stuck with debt, that kind of thing. And We Don't Care is like the initial rebellious stage for him. It also represents that moment for him in the music industry. Him being that rebellious figure that wants to stick out from the norm. I understand that, yes, it shows ego, but it's more of him being rebellious against what's expected of him. And that's literally what's also happening in the story. It talks about, like, you know, community colleges being placed in hoods and things like that, to where it's kind of set up like they can't actually be successful. They're destined to go there and drop out and then get stuck with, you know, either ending up in substance abuse or stuck in mass debt or getting stuck moving things, you know. And that's literally what the whole song sings about, how that's the way to get your money up and that's the only way you can do it. And to me, like, even though it sounds like this big hype thing, it's a sad reality that he's bringing, that they all face, you know, that they all face. It's this big rebellious thing pointing out all these issues, and he brings it to the forefront, and it's supposed to be out in front of all these kids, you know, at graduation, and they all start singing with him. And it kind of proves a point. But like I said, it also represents him being outside the music industry and not conforming to what they want from him. He wants to rebel against what they want. And so that, to me, is like the start of Act 1. This takes us into the graduation day skit, which you could either call like a long skit or a short song, perhaps. But to me, it, like, okay, so it initially starts out with the principal stopping Kanye from singing, telling him how he's trying to get him, you know, out there to be successful, that he won't be graduating due to his actions, and how all he's doing is making it worse for all these people. And it's just him being mad at him for doing so. And it's kind of like what the music industry would do to him for coming up with these different ideas, different type beats, different music, that kind of deal. But in the story, it's that initial thing. But to me, we get the meat of it in the later half, whereas this really soulful, glowy sound. I love it. Like, I love the whole like vibe of it. It's like, it has the whole singing of like, and I mean, I'll show it here since I have the music in the video. And what I really like is how there's this whole idea of don't tell anybody, because later on that ends up being like foreshadowing to what he finally does do. But at this initial time, he didn't want to admit his passion. He didn't want to outwardly say, hey, this is what I want to do, because he didn't think it would be acceptable, especially from somebody like his mom, who pushed him to go to college, who really wanted him to do that. And he's now going to drop out of school to pursue that passion. And all he has really at the time is himself to prove that he can actually do this. But at this time, he can't tell anybody, and he's in some way ashamed of it. Even though, yes, he's pompous and rebellious about it, he's a little bit ashamed inside because he didn't follow what the status quo is, and maybe thinks that things won't get better. College wasn't for him, especially at this time, and so he pursues his passion. And he has to start somewhere. And to me, it breaks into the exact song that kind of fits this, but also ends up being the most popular song on the album as well, that didn't fit any of the bling era of hip-hop at the time. And this song is All Falls Down.
This the real one, baby.
It's such an amazing song, and it definitely has the right to be, you know, what a lot of people consider either the best song in the album, or they're just, you know, it's the most listened to. And I definitely can understand that. It's in my top like 5 or 3, I'd say. But it is not my one, but it's still an amazing song. I love every song on this album. But All Falls Down details this story about this young woman who goes to college and only does it because her family expects her to do so. She ends up getting stuck with all this debt and, you know, a child, and get stuck wanting all these clothes that she can't afford and things that she doesn't need. She wants all this stuff. Literally talks about her working in retail. You know who else worked in retail at this time? Kanye West. So it obviously references his situation, as it's very similar. And it even addresses like a lot of how during this time period, a lot of people would push this act of being gangster, especially in the African American community, because that's what the culture, but also like pop culture in general, expected of them. But he wanted to break that down. He wanted to break that reality down. And like through the story of this woman, it details Kanye's issues themselves, as he literally is self-conscious, buying things he can't afford and doesn't need, and is getting stuck in this endless cycle of possibly debt. And it's like just that idea that he's feeling like he needs to conform to what other people want him to do. And it goes over the issues that African Americans are dealing with at this time and how they're being treated badly due to their race. Despite even if they have a higher social class, that doesn't change anything for them. And it also references how many rappers or just popular figures blow through all their money so fast to try to keep this facade up. Though the hook saying "it all falls down" is perfect for the song in so many ways. It encapsulates the idea. You can't just buy things to have self-worth because eventually it'll all fall down. And what will you be left with? That's something that many people struggle to face. Buying all the things you want, acting hard, or doing drugs won't fix the real problems. Though this leaves us going into the next song or skit. Also, by the way, I love that I got the vinyl because I was like, I've wanted the vinyl forever, but I got the vinyl. And also this shirt, I just bought at Target today to fit the vibe. Y'all think it fits the vibe? I don't know. I kind of want to do it if I do like more of these music ones, that I try to fit the vibe of the album or something. I don't know. It seems dumb, but like, I don't know. I kind of like it.
One bad morning when this life is
Off Thy Way is next, and it's pretty much this short skit to set up Spaceship, which is next. Though what is interesting about this is the first time Kanye starts inserting some religious elements into the song. It's a small hint to what becomes very prominent later. Though again, the lyrics set up this feeling of like hopelessness and, you know, like a situation such as a job that you're forced into or that you have to have, where you're not really, you're like a wage slave, you know, and it kind of goes into that vibe. This is followed up by Spaceship, which is another just, it's a banger.
I've been working this crazy shift and I ain't made.
And it has Kanye singing about what it was like working in retail at his dead-end job, which I'm pretty sure was at Gap. I mean, I think that's kind of just like blatantly said, but yeah, it was at Gap. The managers treat you like crap, and well, I can't say I had it in the same way as him. Obviously, he's getting treated like crap due to his race and being exploited for it. I can't understand what it's like to be berated by these people who are working in retail that are higher up than you, or retail or fast food or anything like that at a dead-end job. It's like you can get berated so easily that they think they can just run all over you and just use you when they need you. Like, he references how these companies, though, will engage in treating non-white employees worse and also using tokenism to sell more product. And this shows how someone in like that situation can clearly be exploited. It's saying how he's being stuck in this system and how it's all like pointless and how he's getting treated badly and put to this wage slave job. And all he's doing is hoping for an escape out of this situation. Now, another major part of the song is the idea that he eventually quits the job to continue pursuing his passion. With the line,
Job can't help 'em, so I quit. Y'all welcome.
Clearly these dead-end jobs can exploit people. And also pursuing your dreams can be that escape that you need. But it's all about breaking out and pursuing it. To me, though, this leads to the next song, which has a major shift and is the end of Act 1 in the 3-act story structure I have.
We're at war with terrorism, racism.
Jesus Walks is probably the second most popular song on the album, next to All Falls Down. It is atypical in that it focuses a lot on religion, which for the time wasn't widely accepted. As he'll say later, many people didn't want to sign him because of a song like this. People saw it as something that couldn't be on the radio due to its religious ideas, but it broke through anyway in a huge way. It's Kanye's breakthrough moment of making the song that he had high passion for, but was told not to do. While I'm not a super religious person, I've come to love this song a lot and see why it's so special. It discusses the idea that amidst all of the wars people may have against their environment, the real conflict is internally. And it talks about how Jesus can still save those that are in hard times or engaging in illegal activities. That no matter what people say, most shouldn't be given up on. while also covering more issues about how the justice system can target African Americans. It talks about how Jesus walks with everyone, and that to me is a beautiful message. But again, it emphasizes Kanye's religious influence and how he'd like to add it in his songs, and here he broke through with that. And to me, this is the end of Act 1. Jesus Walks is the end of him feeling kept out of the music industry, and while yes, there's still doubt, he's in it, and he's not going to give up so easily. This section mainly covered the systemic issues that he and his community have dealt with, and also the flaws of the education system and the music industry and things like that. He gives hope that it is conquerable, and that to me is just one thing he does that's super inspiring. Also, there's a lyric he changes in a song in a different album where he says,
Well, mama, I know I act the fool, but I'll be gone to November. I got packs to move. I hope.
it's completely different from it, but maybe one day, if y'all enjoyed this video enough, I'll get to it, but just let me know. And then the final line of,
The only thing that I pray is that my feet don't fail me now.
is pivotal. It's the hope that after getting in the music industry, his morals won't fail because of his fame. He won't fail to stay afloat, that's his hope. But will he stay afloat? And now that he's partly making his way into the music industry, how does he feel about it? Well, that's for Act 2.
That's right. That's what I do. Come on. No, I ain't never let.
Act to me starts with Never Let Me Down, which literally transitions out of Jesus Walks into it. It's the first song with Jay-Z, who runs the label, who signed him. Each verse covers how, again, despite his successes, the world around him still treats him different due to his race, with a line like,
But I know they don't want me in a damn club. They even make me show ID to get inside a Sam's Club. I done did dirt.
Also, he starts his verse talking about his mom participating in a sit-in at a young age, and this adds on to why he had the chance to be different. And one really insightful thing he says is how the African American community seem to have a harder time to vote for who they want in power, but it's easy for them to go buy things they don't need to keep up an image. Though it also covers religious stuff as well, talking about how despite all these awful things he deals with, God is watching him from the other side. And Jay Ivy's verse covers a lot of it too. How the whole reason he's getting to sing a song for the masses like this is to cover the issues plaguing the world. This song is a great follow-up to Jesus Walks and is the only other more religious song. And to me, this expressed his nonconformity even more so at the time. He had the unique beats, the style, and also topics that he covered. Though after these two songs, the transition into Act 2 has gone through, and we start seeing Kanye's more egotistic side. Get 'Em High, while blatantly being an anthem for what the song title is clearly saying, it also is an early sign of Kanye's ego. While yes, We Don't Care showed that some, here to me is whenever it's more out there. Instead of just being rebellious and fighting back against the system, he now thinks higher of himself than others, talking about fast forwarding through whack beats and things such as that, while having a more bling style rap song than he normally would. It sounds more like a song the music industry would expect him to make now that he can flex more than, his past introspective Kanye, in those songs. The artist we've been following is starting to change, and here we see that. Getting his foot in the door has inflated that self-esteem yet again. While yes, he does reference how he's still different from the rest of the industry, it's kind of lost in the ego of the song. And this has become a major part of Kanye, but compared to Act 1 of my story structure, it sticks out.
You just popped in to Kanye West, get right for the summer workout tape. And ladies,
The workout plan skit is more of just a joke that kind of just leads into the song, which I'm going to go ahead and get into. And the new workout plan to me is like one of the most interesting songs on the album. I will never forget that when I first listened to the album, it was the only song that I really didn't like. And then the more I listened to it, I understood why it was put there. And I also enjoyed the beat and the uniqueness of it a lot more. It sounds like a boy band song mixed with, you know, an 80s workout song, and they're just like slammed together. I don't know, like, to me it is really cool. Like, he did well with it. But another song showing Kanye's bigger ego, talking about girls working out to reach beauty standards of men, and it's a pretty shallow take on life. And I feel like he's doing it on purpose here to kind of make fun of that this kind of reality is pointless. But it also shows Kanye having an overinflated ego, even having a line about telling some girl that he knows another popular rapper just so he can do stuff with her. This is clearly a shallow idea, which completely differs from the guy we started with. He went from relatable to appreciatory, but once he started gaining fame, he lost that side. And to me, this is clearly shown at this point in the album. I feel like that's the point he's trying to get across. And that now with this newfound fame, he's changing for the worse and losing that relatability. Though I enjoyed the beat on the song, like I said, like, it is great. We also see him starting to fall into these patterns he acknowledged before being bad, which is like getting stuck in indulging things he doesn't need, and just so he can have like some kind of fulfillment. Still, this is a unique song sonically and provides this interesting dynamic to me. Kanye was rebellious, but grateful. Now he's arrogant. Though, where does this lead us? Slow jams to me was harder to fit in, I'll say, like, I'll give you that. But I think it still does have Kanye's ego in it. It just goes down slightly. But it still has him talking about women objectively in a bad way. And, like, it's not as bad, but it's still not particularly great. And, again, it's not as bad as the new workout plan. And it also has this very soft beat. And I love the dynamic of him having Jamie Foxx and Twista in the song, because he's like the in-between. He wants to be the in-between. He wants to be the rapper who's also like soft and can go hard at times. But he's, you know, he wants to be stylish but authentic, I guess is the way to put it. And he wants to be the in-between. But it's another song where he still, even though it sounds laid back, it's still him being a little bit more egotistical and starting to indulge in the things that he was once against. But it does lead into the next one kind of decently. Well, Breathe In, Breathe Out sounds different, drastically different from slow jams. It to me still does transition from it pretty well. It references women in a seemingly positive light before him not really helping them. There's even a whole line about a woman being upset about her man. So Kanye proposes doing something for him that would make him jealous, since he's not successful yet. Clearly this is an awful way to talk to someone, but I feel like that's the point. This whole act is set to build Kanye's ego up. He's not fully in the industry, but he's gaining more fame, which is causing him to lose his groundedness in the process. He's engaging in this blingy lifestyle that he once was so against as our, protagonist of the story, I'll say. It was typical of the rappers at the time, but he didn't want to be like that. Which to me, I still believe was the point. While Kanye is just someone who does have a big ego, I know, I think narratively he does this over the top on purpose, to really show how it could be negative. As he even explicitly says, he's doing things that contradict his perspective he stated. That leads us to School Spirit, where we start to see a shift. School Spirit. I'm gonna go ahead and clump all the skits together. Pretty much all the School Spirit skits are just getting across like how this guy who's like a spurg and he's like mindlessly following the ideas that are pushed at him, and like he's going to college because everyone told him to, not even because like he actually understands what the meaning of it is. He's just doing it. And that's sadly what a lot of people do. They don't really understand what they're getting themselves into, and then they get stuck with, debt or pointless degrees that like they didn't have a point in getting, and they're not happy or fulfilled. And that's the point of pretty much all these skits, but it's also made, into a joke, obviously. But it feeds in well to the whole album, but it also feeds in well to the song School Spirit within it. This song dishes on college for the exact reasons that the skits bring up, even if it's in a joking way. It also dishes on the frat lifestyle of college. It talks about a lot of people go to college because everyone else does, just like the skits, and they'll be empty inside. It brings out the reality of college with people seeming to all be there for just education, when in reality they'll end up in a party crowd. And now they've just wasted money, a scholarship, or loan they had. They end up paying it off for an extremely long time. While Kanye is saying he's above all of this, lately in this section, it really hasn't seemed so. Though this is where his ego is going down some. And he starts talking about the real problems again. It's getting there and breaking through. But will he let the facade fall down? Two Words has become one of my most favorite tracks on the album, and I personally think it's the most underrated. Because I know that I shouldn't just go based off of listen numbers, but I've noticed that it isn't listened to as highly as other songs on the album, and I don't understand why. It fits so well narratively, and it also fits for Kanye at the time, and it's also just a great song. It slowly became one of my favorites, and it has that soul combined with a slightly bling beat. It also has a choir as well, and while it may seem like a bunch of rappers trying to sound gangster, there's things that clearly crack that facade to me. He discusses wanting to be himself and not lose who he is due to the fame. It's that change of heart our lead character has. He discusses things like if Judgment Day comes, he'll be blamed by God as the one who acted in what he sees as a sinful way. Which, if you know the story behind the album and track listing, you know what comes next. Before I get to that, I just want to emphasize how this is the shift back from Kanye's egoism he had during the middle portion. Yes, again, I understand that Kanye has an inflated ego, everyone knows that, but he does it over the top before this, I feel like, to push that narrative. But in this song, whenever he's using his egoism, he's using it for good. It's like We Don't Care, covering topics that need to be covered, and it's the return to the conscious hip-hop Kanye that we saw at the beginning of the album. He wants to retain being different in life and in the music industry, not just conform to what everyone else wants from him. And he literally says how he realizes that he's racially profiled, and the bling industry of hip-hop wants to try and change him, to try to pimp him up, and then try to utilize him as what they can as his prop for the exact things that he sees as problems, and he doesn't want to end up becoming that. So now I can start transitioning into what is my favorite song of the album. While making this album, Kanye had a near-death experience. He fell asleep at the wheel, nearly passed away from a near-fatal car accident, and it was a head-on collision. He does live, though, as of course we wouldn't have the album, and he could have stopped there, having his jaw literally shattered in 3 separate pieces. Not wanting to pursue that passion anymore, though he pushes through anyway. And that brings us to my favorite song on the whole album.
Yo, G, they can't stop me from rapping, can they hop?
Through the Wire is such a masterpiece. I know it might be a basic take, but it's just straight up a beautiful song, and it's probably one of the most inspiring songs I've ever heard in my life. Despite Kanye's accident, he records a song literally with his jaw being wired, having his jaw literally being wired up to put back together his 3 pieces of his jaw. And like I said, that to me is one of the most inspiring things I've ever heard in my life. And you might think that's corny, but I mean, I'm being serious. He defies what life tried to throw at him, and he also understands that God showed him that he could take everything away just like that. To me, this is the most defiant he's been. You know, you see We Don't Care, which was defiant against the system, and then you have something like All Falls Down, but All Falls Down is more defiant against the social system. And then you have something like, you have Jesus Walks, which is trying to be defiant against himself and take on his own challenges, but he fell. But then in 2 Words, he comes back by again defying against the music industry. But here is his biggest defiance. He defied against the most adversity he could have had at this point. The beat is by far my favorite on the album, with a mix of this glowy sound, like, I don't know, and the chipmunk soul, and like, oh my, it's so cool. It's perfect. It literally encapsulates the College Dropout to me. And the song was released at the time with 2 words on the B-side, which to me proves that these songs are in some way connected. He clearly has this song where he has this come to heart moment where he changes and realizes that if he doesn't change and go back to keeping his morals straight, God will punish him for it. And right after that, he nearly has to face that. And to me, that shows how intertwined they are. But this song was his full-on breakthrough, and what got him his first music video, and what inevitably let his album break through. And to me, that's poetic. But again, it's a beautiful moment for this album, for this point in the story, and for this point in Kanye's life. And to me, this is kind of the end of the climax of the album. We kind of had our story, but we don't really have that, that falling action or ending just yet. The next 2 songs to me follow that pretty well, in my opinion.
This is family business, and this is for the family that can't be with us, and this is for my cousin.
With Family Business, we had that falling action. Kanye literally wanted to emphasize the song to sound like a real family situation. He reminisces on life from his position now. He has the fame, but understands what comes with it. And also has just lived this horrifying experience and looks back on his life and appreciates the loved ones around him for being there. And yes, I know he got these stories from someone else, but to me that proves he wanted this to fit conceptually. It's him going back to his roots and appreciating everyone from his life. It's obviously a pivotal line discussing a huge issue across the album. All of the things that come with fame don't mean much. And what really matters is your journey there and loving the people around you. It's all these small moments you have with those special to you that make it all worthwhile. It's things like your family business that make life what it is. Discussing that everyone should try and stop fighting over these little insignificant things and appreciate everyone they've grown up with. There's also lines talking about how he wanted to change the rap game by rhyming about stuff other than knives and guns, which is clearly shown through the album. And there's a very pivotal line that for the time was unusual in the genre, which is, and to me that's such an impactful line because it shows how Kanye at the time truly cared to make a difference and was a lot more accepting. At the time, people expected rappers to act tough and couldn't appreciate things like that because they're a band. But here he breaks that down. And now that leaves us with the final song, which to me is like the ending or the epilogue, whichever you'd like to call it, Last Call. And to me, it is very interesting. It's the song that's literally Kanye talking about how he got from point A to point B. Talking about how he got his record deal. Originally only being a ghost producer, which is, making beats for rappers without being credited. And now we're just way up to a record deal. It hits every note this album is about. He has time where his mom paid for him to have an apartment just so he could pursue his dream, and she supported him. He couldn't get a promotion for a long time due to them not thinking he could rap. And even if they did, since he rapped about his faith on Jesus Walks, they didn't want to take a chance on him. He was kind of offered a deal from Rockefeller, but not to the extent he was by Capitol Records. Though as he was going to accept the deal with Capitol, they pulled out of the deal, and Jay-Z and Dame Dash still had an offer for him. Though when they signed him, to be honest, they still didn't treat him great, and they still weren't even pushing his album until he had Through the Wire break through. But he took the deal with Rockefeller, and that changed everything. It's a story of how this unusual rap artist came to be, and this unusual rap album came to be. It's a perfect wrap-up song and gives us all the details we could have wanted. And with that, we finished the story of the College Dropout. But now I want to talk about why I really wanted and cared to make this video. The College Dropout is so special to me musically, meaning-wise and lyrically. It represents this massive idea of self-empowerment. I think it could hit for any time in your life or mine, but it has, especially right now, because I'm in my second year of college. And I can feel a lot of the things that he talks about. Well, yeah, I can't understand what the African American community has to deal with, and I get that. I understand. I can't understand that. You know, like, I can't say that I understand that from experience, but I can sympathize with it, and I can empathize with a lot of the things that he discusses as problems about the education system in general, and just about how life is in general. And I feel that stress of wanting to do something different from what people around me see as the typical path. And while I enjoy college, these stresses can weigh me down a lot. Having other people set what you think you're passionate for is not the way to live, though, is what I've come to realize. You have to, at some point, take a stand and do what you want to do. I'm not saying go in and ruin your life by, like, I don't know, doing something stupid, but I do mean that you should try to pursue your passion, because that's how you're gonna really be happy. It's not fair to you to let someone else dump on it and change your trajectory, and you'll regret something like that forever. Also, again, discussing the issues with the education system is great, as when someone who maybe doesn't want to go to college is made to, they get stuck with a debt they got nothing out of and end up partying rather than actually getting their education. And it targets his community worse than most. But I think it's an issue that can affect anyone. Life will throw so many sudden curveballs at you that you don't expect. Whether it's a death in your family, a tragic event, running out of money, or anything else. For Kanye, it was losing that deal in the accident. But it's all about how you attempt to deal with it, how you react to it. While you may feel like it's the world that has all the issues, and it does have its issues, it's within yourself that much of them lie. Many people in life put up facades all the time to maintain an image, not face their issues head on, and do what they think people will accept. But what will happen when it all falls away? What will they be left with? Nothing. And that's why you have to get up and decide what you want your life to be. And that's what the College Dropout showed me. And part of it may seem cliche, you know, talking about being different, being okay. But that's something many people do fail to realize. Also, using this medium to convey all these serious issues in the world around and within us is one of the most awesome things you can do. It makes these ideas stick in someone's mind and it connects with them in different ways. All of this combines together to complete why Kanye West, the College Dropout, is so special to me. This album to me is like a 10 out of 10. It's so good. But this was my analysis of the College Dropout. If you completely disagree with my takes, that's okay. But because, you know, with music, I think anyone can decide what they feel about it. They're all going to react to it in different ways, you know? And so some people might be like, well, this is just a collection of great songs. That's fine if you think that, but this is my personal interpretation, and it's why I find it so special. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know other albums y'all like or would like to see me cover. I enjoy a lot of different music and a lot of different albums, and I'm looking into some other videos, but I would like to see if y'all support this, if y'all enjoy these type of videos. It took a long time to make, but I hope you enjoy it. And normally I won't have music, but this time, since I'm not even monetized yet, I can have it for now. But like I said, let me know what you think in the comments. I loved working on this video, and please like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it. I've been Colton, and thank you for watching. As always, stay safe. We wasn't supposed to make it past 25. Joke's on you, we still alive. Throw your hands up in the sky and say, we don't care what people say.